Thank you very much, Cecil, for agreeing to kind of have this chat with us. For the audience, we're here with Cecil Balmond, one of Sri Lanka's most celebrated architects, I believe, and we're sitting inside what we feel is going to be probably one of his greatest creations. So we're here to just talk about what's behind it, what we thought about it, why it is what it is. It's an often misunderstood building. Every great building, lots of great buildings, start with the sketch on a napkin. And this is what you sketched, 10, 12 years ago.
Yep.
There's this, and there's this.
Yeah,
Tell us about it, Cecil, about what was your thinking, how did this get conceived, what was the whole story behind it? Yeah.
So the thing with design is that architecture design is an art form, so yet what I draw on when I design is some bit of science, some bit of local context, and also instinct. And it's very hard to say what runs what. My instinct was that something special was needed. And the first thing I did was I thought there should be an address to the sea. Because at that time there were no towers, there was nothing.
There was nothing in front, right? It was just the Taj, and it was wide open.
Just the Taj.
Yes.
And I thought there should be something addressing the sea.
Yes.
Which meant not thin towers, but something broad, just that. Then I thought it also should be heralding entry into Colombo in a metaphorical, urban. I was thinking of myself from long ago, coming down the Gold Face, looking at the Taj or looking at Gold Face Hotel, and I wanted to have this building as an address to a new Colombo.
Actually, that was very much the ambition of John Keels at the time as well.
I didn't know that.
Wanted to make a statement of, look, this is who we are. This was conceived just after we came out of the war.
Right.
That was the beginning of it, and the whole idea was, look, how do you put a new face of Colombo forward and basically create something that puts us on the map? So that kind of gelled very well with the way you were thinking about it.
Yeah, so I thought there should be, it's a new address to Sri Lanka.
The first building, or at least one of the first, it is the first at this scale certainly, to take Sri Lankan elements and just completely interpret them in a very, very different way. And I think that's why it's a bit controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. It could be maybe the beginning of a new...
It could be, because when we did the CCTV building at the beginning, the Chinese architect, what is crazy stuff. But as I've been watching the TV, now when you watch the Olympic bubble, the Olympic bird's nest, which I helped with, the swimming pool, bubbles, all gone. They only show in the skyline of Beijing, you'll see this building now. And it's becoming the icon.
Exactly, you associate.
Against people's wishes even maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't ignore it.
You can't help it, you can't help it.
And you get sucked in.
Exactly, it's there's pieces of work, buildings mostly, that define cities, right? You have the CCTV one, you have Marina Bay Sands, you think of Singapore, you think Eiffel Tower, you think of Paris. Couple of years, you think Cinema Life, you're thinking.
Cinema Life will be.
You're probably thinking. You're probably actually. My sense is it'll be more than just Sri Lanka, because in a way, even if you look at the entirety of South Asia,
this will be a unique building, kind of, without any doubt. The whole of the region, up to including Japan. I have no doubt of that at all. The Western, some people will sniff at it because they didn't do it, but. If I talk and publish and the books come out, and they will see this is a new thing.
Yeah, it's a one of a kind.
Yeah,
it's a one
and
of a
that's
kind.
what's important. It's unique. That's what Keels wanted, John Keels holding.
Absolutely,
the icon.
Absolutely.
And I'm very proud of it because I think it's working. The more I come, like today again, I saw this new threshold. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Because when I walk in the cantilevers, it's really exciting when you see each You don't see that in buildings. Balancing thresholds
Yes.
out in the horizontal, away from the building. Where is the building?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the point.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And the street up there, the movements at 22, 24 going up. It's for me a symphony. New kind of architecture, nothing of the derived forms you see.
Yes. Yes.
So those were the initial thoughts, and then I looked at the Beira sweep of the peninsula, and I thought it's got to be a curved form.
Because it's a semicircular
Just
site.
thought of a
Yes.
curved form, and all these are very primitive, no legacy ideas, nothing. It's just ideas forming. And then I thought of an abstract, which I often work with abstraction.
Yes.
So I just drew a circle, completely devoid of any scale, any sight, any ambitions of a brief. I drew a circle, and then I drew a square within the circle, which is an age-old, Da Vinci, all those things.
Yes.
Of circle and square is a sort of thing, a tension between the two. Then I thought of an algorithm to run across the square. And it was a very simple one that diagonally went like that, and then came back down and went like that, and completed the subdivision of the square, but all on the oblique. I thought, that's interesting. Then I thought, okay, I'll extend the oblique lines to meet the circle. And then I thought, that's it, because when the oblique lines met the circle, I went snip, 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 connecting the intersections.
Okay, so that's
And
how
I
you get that
had the
scallop on the top. Right.
As I had the scallop, I thought, this is still a circle in my study, there's nothing. I thought, that's interesting. That's got a non-modernist feel. And for me then, instinctively, something Sri Lankan about it, but I didn't know what. I just felt, that's the way, that's interesting. A scallop form on looking at the sea. Then of course the architecture began, where I looked at the brief and thought, my God, and I put the big thing down and I thought, wow, this is big.
Tell me a little bit about how we talk about motion. You and I have talked before, you talked about how you thought about how somebody experiences this coming in. Because it's unusual in that you come and then you zip up and then you engage and then you go to your room, right? Tell me a little bit about that kind of thought process.
That was, again, at the
movement.
beginning, I wanted new thresholds in the city. So I didn't want to start from the ground. I thought the main entry should be level 24. And I always talked at the beginning of a street in the sky. In fact, I had interior sketches of street lamps.
And you also had a gigantic ramp coming up.
That's right. So I brought people up to level 7 was the first threshold.
Yes.
Leave people at the retail, go in the hotel. But then you zoom up to level 24. That's your main floor, like a street.
Yes.
Almost I would have had vendors selling kadale and all that there. Almost.
In some way, that's what 23 is now, because it's a whole level of restaurants. It's like your restaurant.
That's right. So I wanted that as the main place. Then you go up and down.
Yeah. So you come in, you go up to 24, you take in the city, and then you.
That was the idea. Always taking away the definition of a building that is an extrusion from the ground and stands up. For me, it never stood up. Architecture connects with ornament and form, and in the old-fashioned way. They don't teach that anymore. I've always believed in ornament as an underlying necessary part of the architectural imperative. It's not just apply, it's not applique. It's doing something, which the facade is doing, the interior is doing it, and also. So it's a complete symphony. I'm very proud of that fact, that this is one of the Serpentine Pavilions one, the CCTV building in Beijing with the pattern moving like a snake, and Cinnamon Life. I think Cinnamon Life is even more holistic as a movement
I
of
think
energy.
I think this is going to be your best building.
The form itself externally is what I would call a serialization of form. It's not a cookie cutter, it's not an extrusion, it's a, what's the word? It interprets form. There's no word you can put to it. Professors from my university at Penn came down, invited them, and they said, Cecil, we've never seen a building like this. It's a new typology. Because
you can't put it in a box actually. Yeah, you can't classify
put it in the box. It jumps in and out. So then on the inside, so the outside was a sculptural moving form, and I've always believed that architecture is a frozen kind of motion. It's animate if you only knew how to look, but when you're building it, it's solid. But actually it's all moving. Hence this line of the first sketch on the napkin.
Right.
That's one moving, for me, that's the project. One line moving.
Right.
It's a dynamic thing. So that projection, that animation is locked in all over the building. It's nothing to do with normal flow, for me. It's all moving in my head.
Even the facade, you look at it from golf face at different times of the day. Because you've got these ins and outs, because you've got so much going on, it changes color.
If I'm proud of something, I think I got that just right. Because when you're at the golf face, the color of the glass, I mean, it's very brave to choose it. I chose a kind of just slight chocolate. And I didn't want to be dark and I didn't want to be light. And when I walk golf face, I'm happy. It goes, when the sun's coming at 4-5, it goes bronze. And I wanted a warmth to the people who'd come and use the plaza, level 7. I wanted a balcony on the city, looking at the sea. And you have a warmth from what is a tough building.
Yes.
This is a tough, big building. But it has the warmth because the pattern takes your eye, and the glass has a warmth. You don't mind being there against this side.
No, that's the thing. I think that's one of the more interesting things, because it's a massive build. But when you engage with it, at one level you see the scale, but there's so much going on that it kind of brings it
That's what I
down to
meant about
humanity
bringing
as
it to
well.
the eye, the scale of the person.
Yeah,
the eye
exactly.
can only take so much.
Exactly.
And if the eye can jump, it stays interested.
Exactly.
Whereas if you see a cookie cutter
and it's not
building,
monotonous, right?
No.
Every piece is different. Every piece is
different.
unique.
So that's why when we started discussing the art, Keel's operators want to put in art in the building. In a way, you don't need it because the building
is art.
The interior was where I then said, it's the interior of an art. It's a sculpture, but I'm going to interiorize it. So the floors are all fractals.
Yes.
All the public areas are from a fractal I invented for a project on London called Victoria and Albert. That never happened. So I took that fractal, I had it, and we interpreted that to put down on the floors. So that was one case of the fractal. The main banquet area, the main bridge, has a real fractal. So what you see on the floors are parts of fractal, but they are fractal.
Right.
In the sense that if you could zoom out and see it all, the scale is the same, the pattern is the same whether it's small or big.
Right.
That's what a fractal is. So
it's basically nature's building block anyway.
Yeah,
right? So
it
that's
goes
what
in and
fractals
out.
are, yeah.
So the roof and the ceiling of the banquet is a true fractal. And if you zoom in, and it will be very interesting when you see it. So that was another part of the fractal. The base of a fractal is Aman grids. Underneath this thing, there is a set of grids that shift. And it's like a dance, small, large, 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 small, small. It's like dance instructor telling you quick step, step, slow step, you know. And that's what's underneath the fractals and underneath your ones. And if one day we could present that to show all the Aman lines. So some of it's been copied in the corridors of
because
of the thing.
there are very, what's interesting, and when people walk through, and you know, we're starting to put the finishes in, so people are starting to see this, you don't really see straight lines, you know, like there's very few really parallel lines. There's a little bit off, but then there's logic to the whole thing, which I think makes it really quite
so
fascinating.
Again, the idea of the form itself externally is what I would call a serialization of form. Then the prime numbers are used for all the specialist lighting. So we had the lighting to do, and again, it's not just decorative lighting. They're prime numbers, and for the reason I love prime numbers is because it's a serial. Again, there's no rhythm that's continuous. It goes from 3 to 5 to 7 to 11 to 13 to 19 to 20. And it moves and moves and it jumps again. And I've always been trying to do private research to see if there's any Aman line thinking behind it. No, you can't.
Let me just show you an image. I don't know whether you've seen this. Hold on. Here we go. We've tried really hard to stay true to your design.
Thank you.
And this is the rendering. This is the real deal.
Amazing, isn't it?
From just a couple of months ago.
And if you look at this, it's matching the sketch of the single line.
Yes,
you watch the single line moving,
and that's what it is, right? No, but it's striking to me the first time I saw this image. It's like you do a double take because you're like, which one's the rendering, which one's real. So I'm actually particularly proud of this because that means all the slaving away we've done on site, we've tried to stay true.